Is there any, we're just going over the agenda.
Yeah, I figure I'd stop down in case you have any questions.
Okay.
Are all the public hearings going to be held tomorrow night, or is
Yes,
everything
there's
in?
two of them. Greenburgh Shopping Center and then Westchester Square.
Okay,
Both shopping.
Two related to you.
to you, right, they're
To me.
actually,
Oh,
right, exactly, there were
Unless
three.
you want to take,
Not all
you want
about
to take
you.
ownership of something else.
I'm greedy.
And we're not going to make any decisions tomorrow.
No,
No.
at most, the public hearing would be closed for one or both.
Oh, Jared, I just wanted to know, are copies of these available to the other members who went on the,
Yeah,
Trip to the shopping
I
center?
mailed one down to Madawan, a hard copy, and then I think we distributed others, but I'll go through my distribution list and
Okay.
resend it out, just to make sure.
And will you be getting up at Hampshire and putting the planning board's amended recommendation into the record?
Sure, I mean,
Just so it's in the transcript as well as the paperwork.
I will note it, sure. And that it was distributed with a hard copy in the packages
The
today.
concern, I had, and Diana and I, were there, virtually every car that we saw went over the line. So they were, every, where they want to put the new entrance or exit, there's like a little curve, and I would say it was probably like 99% of the cars went on the wrong side of the road while they were going across the roadway.
well,
It's because the curve is so sharp and the road is so
Yeah.
narrow.
Yeah,
And the other cars coming in the other direction.
yeah,
right, there were no cars at
and
that
it
point, right?
wasn't even, it wasn't like one car, it was like dozens of cars, so, that was basically the concern that I have. We also, looked at, the other location, which is north, I guess, closer to, I guess, Best Buy. There's like a lot of empty space. Now, I wouldn't have any objections if they put, the building there, because,
I'm not going to support it unless they do.
that's my feeling.
Yeah, one quick note on that
Right.
is, I think the applicant has represented that in the past, a negative declaration was made that indicated that there wouldn't be significant adverse impacts if that 6,000 square foot building was to the south. While I agree with that, the idea of site plan review, and in the code, there's site circulation and parking, the idea is to get the best site plan. So if you all feel that that building is best suited in the north side, despite the fact that the neg deck was made, I think you're within your right to, request that.
Did they ever produce any documentation that they said exists that there's some kind of a restriction in putting the building there, notwithstanding the fact that they've been proposing a building there for a couple of years?
I haven't received anything, but I'll ask them again that, that question will likely come up. And they should either address it or send something in as soon as possible if that's their rationale.
And if it does exist, why didn't they produce this earlier on when they had the proposal for the two buildings?
Yeah.
And it seemed to be perfectly okay then.
Yeah, the applicant, I think, also questioned that they were concerned that the process would take too long if the building was shifted there. And I think the reality is if the building were shifted to the north side, something which at least it sounds like some of the town board supports, I really don't think it would, add a large amount of time. I mean, the planning board supports it, the town board does too. It's really just getting that plan in, having a public hearing on it, and then just resuming the process as always.
That's what the amended recommendation from the planning board says, is that they would like to see it on the north side.
That's right.
Which, after being on the property, makes more sense than putting more there, especially when that building, when Trader Joe's is due to be extended as far as it's going to be extended.
Yeah.
And the amount of traffic, we were there, I think, 1:30 on, what was it a Thursday? I'm trying to
Yeah, I
remember.
think
It was a Thursday, and the amount of traffic and people going in and out of that store is enormous. So it's,
And again-
and it wasn't a weekend, it wasn't peak time or anything, and the usage is incredible.
Right.
Again-
One other quick thing to point out, with Westchester Square, they did make some crosswalk improvements. And they're doing something that would be unique in the town of Greenburgh. Instead of having individual crosswalks leading from the aisles to the front of the center, they actually propose, it's like a checkerboard grid that would span maybe 3 widths, right? So it's and it's on the plan, I can show you. But that would be the first time here in Greenburgh. I did send it up to Mike Maris. He indicated that he thinks it's a safe pedestrian crossing, and really what it does is, if you're a vehicle, it alerts you that, hey, there's heavy pedestrian use in this area, definitely proceed with caution. I can send out a colored photo of what that would
Is there
look like.
signage to indicate that as well, so that people aren't confused? Because, the uniformity of these crosswalks has been an issue in the past.
Yeah, I hear you. At the moment, it looks like it would just be the checkerboard crossing. We can ask them if they would reinforce that with signs. Maybe, those waist-high signs that say pedestrian
Exactly.
crossing, maybe at the front of each one, that would be good. But this is something, and they have 2 of them, and I think, if you're a vehicle, you really take notice to that.
Yeah, 'cause it's different.
Well, it's also similar to, in New York City, don't block the box.
That's right.
Right.
So that is one, we don't have any like that in Greenburgh, and if it was successful here, it might be worth consideration elsewhere, as places come in for amended site plan.
Or even when we have our crossings, if it's successful here, we could do it near the schools and things like that.
Good, yeah. I definitely wanted to alert you of that.
Does it comply with the state code?
We can look into, I can check into that for you. I think one of the main things is that it has to be highly visible, and in that regard, it's definitely that.
It does that.
Could you maybe, share this with the police chief, because we've been getting emails on Linwood and, in Edgemont, near Ardsley Road. There's a crosswalk, and it's really pretty hazardous. And I sort of think that, the chief is looking at, different options that would alert people, down the hill right near the train station. And this might be actually an approach that, that could be.
Okay, yeah, I'd be happy to, yeah. We have examples of it used elsewhere in color, so. Yeah, at one point Midway was exploring the possibility of this, but this would be a first in Greenburgh.
Let's just make sure we get sign off from DOT, because if somebody is in there and gets
Right.
hit,
Right.
and then it's not a non-standard crosswalk,
Yeah, we'll check with,
that's a problem.
we'll check with the building departments. It's not DOT jurisdiction. But I'd be
I know,
curious
but
to
would
see
they
if
allow
DOT
that?
uses them elsewhere.
Would they allow that on a state?
Oh, honestly, yeah,
Yeah, right.
In
When
other words,
you,
is it a recognized crosswalk?
right.
on your field trip, when you observed the traffic up and down North Washington Avenue at the proposed exit, did you also observe the traffic on Dalewood at the proposed
That
exit?
was,
Was it different?
There was a lot of traffic. We didn't see as many cars,
There was.
Dalewood is straight as an arrow.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a pretty quiet part
And
of
it's
the
not a
day.
through
Right.
street, right, because it stops at
That is,
Woodlands.
yeah, not as much as
And you have to be going to
It's-
Woodlands.
It's pretty much up to the high school or residents right there.
At that time of day, there wasn't a tremendous amount of traffic, no.
Yeah. But there does seem to be much more room at the north side for a building.
Yes, there's
there's a
no,
lot of room here.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of room up
I
there.
remember that from the first field trip we took out.
Right.
And these are posted already.
good.
Yeah, Judith just mentioned something. I wonder on, North Washington, if we had a sign, Judith said you could get like tickets of $250 if you're going on the wrong side.
No, in New York City, they just increased the fee, the ticket fee for driving in the bus lane. You can get up to $350. If you're sitting there, it's like $350. If you're driving the bus lane, it's $250.
Yeah, I wonder if on like North Washington on the curve, we say we're going the wrong side, you could be subject to ticket. I'm wondering if we're
It's part of the,
I think in,
it's part of the law,
motor
isn't it?
vehicle law, you could get a summons for
crossing the
Exactly, for
double
crossing the
yellow
double
line.
yellow
It's
line.
already in
Everybody
the,
does it.
well, they-
Well, it's when you're taking the curve, and since there's no traffic coming in the other direction, you get some of that.
sure.
Okay, so we now have an executive session?
Yes.
There are no other changes?
Take care of it. It's
No
gonna be
other
contract.
I don't believe so.
It's supposed to come in today, but they just didn't.
So you have an executive session for potential litigation issues with respect to the reassessment,
Okay,
and a reassessment update is going to be had in open session after that discussion.
okay, so that should be about, in like 45 minutes, or half hour, 45 minutes.
An
I would say
hour.
so.
Okay. An hour, half hour, 45 minutes.
I give it
could
some-
be an hour,
It could be an hour and a half.
You never know.
And then also during executive session, at 12 o'clock, you have 2 interviews with the PCAC,
Okay.
okay?
Tim, on the exposure contract, since Ray Thomas isn't coming in today, he's coming in next week.
Yes.
Are we holding that over?
Yes.
Because he objects to the
No,
language.
he doesn't object to holding it over, and he will be here next Tuesday.
So we'll just put.
We're also, just for
Right.
information, I'm working with, Jerry Byrne and Tom Avenante on trying to locate a location for a playground for kids who have autism. And these would be older kids. And Tom's trying to get us the funding, for that from the state. But that would be like a first, because it would be really a playground for older kids. So I think that could be exciting.
Is there a vote to go into executive session?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye,
And we will be returning.
Yep.
yes.
And the playground's needed, too.
But, yeah.